Right.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Super Podcast Action Committee, episode 113. Andrew Eisen here, along with Zachary Knight. Hello, Zachary.
Hello, Andrew. How are you doing?
Doing all right. It's not as hot as it's been, but it's still hot. I'm actually not wearing any pants.
Isn't that the joy of doing a show that only shows you from the shoulder up?
Yep. Yep. That's the joy. I also didn't shave, and neither did you.
Nope. I haven't shaved.
But you look fairly groomed. I'm just tired and lazy and haven't bothered.
Yeah. Well, I shave once in a while. I usually trim my beard down every Sunday, but yeah, I haven't actually shaved under my chin in like 4 days. So.
Yeah. I tend to, I'll shave here because this just drives me nuts. Which is stupid because this isn't that much more surface area. You think if I take the time to get out the shaving cream and rub it on my throat and drag the razor around, I'd just move it up a little bit, But nope, cannot be bothered. So.
No.
All right. So, YouTube folk, if you're watching this live on YouTube, head on over to GamePolitics.com because we run a live chat. You can say hey. Let's see. So, I'm playing Phoenix Wright, Dual Destinies, but that's actually part of the poll, so we'll discuss that a little bit later. By the way, we are still running a poll on Game Politics. I'll be closing it in like the next 10 minutes or so, but if you want to vote, get on over there now. Other than that, though, I haven't been playing anything. How about you?
Let's see. Last night, my wife and I, we unlocked the last 2 characters and the last couple of levels on Towerfall Ascension. Yeah, we were, all week long. I've been, any chance I get, I'm trying to beat the one of these quest modes and quest levels, and it was kicking my butt. So it's just. But I get better every time I play it, and so last night we finally beat it. Like I managed to see in this particular one there were 8 rounds, so eight waves of monsters that you have to survive, and each of the 2 players get 4 lives. And I actually managed when we finally beat it. I actually managed to make it to the last round with 2 lives left, which was really good, based on all of my previous plays, and so I actually managed to survive and beat that round, and then and so after doing that, I was able to unlock one of the other characters, and then we played another quest mode to unlock the last one, and it only took us a few times. That one was surprisingly not as tough. Or maybe I just felt like it wasn't as tough after beating the previous one, but managed to beat that one with 2 lives left. I had 3 lives when we got to the last round, and managed to beat it with only dying once. So we unlocked all the characters and unlocked all the levels at that point. So the kids were really excited. I told them this morning that we'd play this afternoon, and so we got to play, and they got to check out the new characters. So, the core cast. I don't know if for those of you who haven't played, the core cast is like a little thief. It's like almost like Merida from Disney Brave, the Brave movie. She's basically in a green cloak and hood, and she's got really red curly hair. And then there's some other girl who's in a blue cloak, it's last of an order or something like that. Then there's a pink prince. He's just a princely character. And then a turncloak soldier. I don't know, can't really describe his outfit other than he's wearing one of those caps that have the flaps that go down over the ears.
Dear stalker.
Yeah. And so that's the core cast, and then the new characters. In one of the levels, the moon in the cutscene leading up to gaining this level, the moon explodes and a chunk of it falls and crashes on the earth, and then you go to that level and you can find one of the characters there. Can't remember which one it is. I think it's like the white character is like an ancient exile or something like that. And then there's some vicious vessel. She's a witch-style character. And then there's this old guy, and then the last one's a little puppet style character. And so interesting cast of characters. But yeah, Matthew in the comments says he's surprised the Towerfall devs bothered to port it to the Ouya. And I would think he would make a lot of people upset if he didn't, considering the Ouya is how he got his start with the game. The Ouya is what made that game successful. There's no way it would have gone to the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4 had it not started on the Ouya and gained that success. So yeah, so if he didn't bring it to the Ouya, that would have ticked a lot of people off, especially me. I was ticked off that it took 6 months to come to the Ouya, but I guess that was Sony's an exclusivity agreement with Sony or something. But yeah, that's really all I played this week. I didn't play anything else.
Well, yeah, I didn't play anything else either. But I did try something a little bit new this week and put a message on my Facebook page, which you can find at Andrew Eisen YouTube if you are so inclined, asking what our readers wanted to see us talk about today. And it was kind of a last-minute thing because I'm kind of a last-minute kind of guy. So let's see what we have. We have Marcos Casas says, "Smash Hype Train!" So are you hyped for Smash Brothers, Zachary?
I don't have a 3DS or a Wii U, so I don't really...
Is Smash Brothers going to make you buy one?
Maybe, I don't know.
Well, we can talk about this. A couple days ago, Nintendo had a Bayonetta 2 Nintendo Direct. And before the Direct started, I predicted that Bayonetta would be announced as a Smash Brothers character. She was not.
Yeah, no Bayonetta in Smash.
Yeah. I think she'd actually make for a neat character in Smash.
Probably, yeah.
Granted, you would not be able to do the torture and execution moves that she does in the game. You can't have blood flying all over the place because it's still a T-rated game. But and a lot of people say, "Well, she's naked." It's like, no, there's actually no nudity in the game. Her bits and pieces are covered, and it's not just by the swirly hair that goes around her. She's wearing a kind of like a one-piece bathing suit under her hair suit. You know, when she does her strong attacks, her hair just like, and she looks naked. But if you look, she's wearing like this dark gray one-piece swimsuit thing, and it's high cut up the sides, but it's not a thong or anything. It's actually covers more than some of Zero Suit Samus's outfits. So I think she would work. You know, I think she would work just fine in a T-rated game like Super Smash Brothers.
Yeah, I don't see any problem with it.
Yeah, and I haven't played the games yet, but I don't think she curses up a storm. If she does, they'd have to curtail her language a little bit. But
yeah, I don't know. They've had Solid Snake in there before, so
it's from a series of M-rated games. True.
Yeah, so that's not unheard of to bring an M-rated character in.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it would have been nice to have her in. But you know, we talked about this in the shout box. But you know, they probably won't bring her in as a playable character. But you know, there's still the possibility of her being an assist trophy or something.
Yeah, yeah. as most of you know, ostensibly the entire Smash roster was leaked a week or two ago, and Bayonetta was not there. But you know, there could be character DLC. I believe I mentioned this last week. The character DLC is somewhat unlikely just because it could throw off the balance of the game. I mean, I'm sure we'd see costume DLC or stage DLC or new trophies and things like that before we saw character DLC, but you never know.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and you had mentioned that making a Bayonetta costume for Samus, or maybe even Peach, you know, because Bayonetta cosplays as both of those characters in Bayonetta 2. So.
And Link. So Link should cosplay as Bayonetta and Fox. And Fox go. Now, because she has a Fox McCloud costume. What's the other one? And Daisy isn't it? Is she a Smash?
No, Daisy's not in Smash, is she?
I don't think so. I'd have to look at the list again. I don't think she is.
I don't think she is. No.
Matthew says Bayonetta may not be nude, but they do show a lot of skin. That's true. But then again, you know, so does Samus. And Paula, the girl from Kid Icarus, Paulinetta. What's her name?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, she's wearing thigh-high stockings and her dress is slid up to her hips. So, you know, some of the characters are showing a bit of skin. And Shulk...
Zero Suit Samus, you know, she's there in her...
nearly painted-on bodysuit.
Yeah, and then she's got the sports bra
shorts and crop top, yeah.
And brief style shorts.
Mm-hmm. And Shulk is in just his shorts and really ugly shoes. So you know, it's not like none of the characters.
Well, Samus has really ugly shoes too, but you know that's beside the point.
Yeah, because it would be fun. And you know, I would really like to see this game sell well, and it's probably not going to. There's actually an Operation Platinum fan movement, another one of the Operation Rainfalls or Operation Zero, which is looking at the trying to get the Fatal Frame games localized for other territories, which is meant to. We're already getting Bayonetta, but it's meant to promote Platinum's games because Platinum is awesome. And their games are really good, and they should sell more, and they end up almost always being really niche, and that's just a damn shame. So Jesse Hart, our friend from the other side of the ocean, says Smash Brothers. Yes, Smash Brothers. Tim Queen says 3DS being region locked in a separate console. We talked about that a bit last week, but we'll talk a little bit more about 3DS here in a few minutes because that was part of the poll. Joseph Jeriel says blood alcohol content and Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. I have no idea what that means. But I will say that a tropical freeze sounds like a really awesome drink, even though I don't drink.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I do have
in one, but I guess it'd be kind of like a margarita or something.
It sounds very fruity.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it sounds like something that would have an umbrella and a crazy straw sticking out of it.
Maybe served in a coconut.
Or maybe. I actually see one of those margarita glasses. So, very off-topic, but kind of funny story. I was out with a friend. I took a friend to see Sin City 2 for her birthday last weekend. And we stopped by Woody's, which is a burger place, and had dinner before we went to the theater. She had a beer, about 80% of a glass of beer. It was brown. I don't know what kind of beer it is, but whatever. So we have dinner, then we go to La Costa and go to the theater and watch Sin City. And then we drive home along the coast, because I live next to the ocean, because I'm special. And we hit a police... It wasn't a border check thing, which I'm used to. This was a sobriety check thing, which I have never seen before, and I live in Pacific Beach. So this cop rolls up to our window, or, well, her window, she was driving, and saying, what's your name? And she's Afghani, so her name's Naeed. And he's like, what? She's Naeed. And he's like, and he goes back and forth about her name. It's like, what the hell difference does her name make, dude? Get to the point. I'm hungry. I want to go eat dinner. It's 10 o'clock at night. I haven't eaten in like 5 hours. I eat every 3 hours because I'm a glutton. So he starts badgering her about her name, and then he's like, have you had anything to drink today? It's like, Jesus, today? She goes, no. Even though she did have a, part of a glass, 80% of a glass of beer 5 hours earlier. She goes, no. And he looks over at me, and I'm just kind of sitting there listening to this thing. He goes, you're awful quiet. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm not driving. You're not talking to me. Who cares how much I've had to drink? and so I said, no, I haven't had anything to drink. I don't drink, period. And she says, yeah, he's a virgin. What she meant was he has never had a drink in his life. That's how much he so doesn't drink. But that's not the way the cop took it. He went, and he slowly handed her license back, saying, that's way more than I need to know. You can just go. So I guess the moral of this story is if you want to make it through a sobriety test, just skeeve out the police officer. Give them way more information than they need. Make them uncomfortable. That's the secret.
There we go.
So that was pretty. And she's like, I am so sorry. I meant virgin drinker. I'm like, I know what you meant. Just I don't care. It's not like I have mutual friends with this cop, and he's gonna go on Twitter, and you're like, Andrew, whatever. So anyway, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is a great game. Everyone should play it, and if you have trouble, I wrote IGN's guide. So, and there's a video walkthrough for every single stage in the game, and there's like 60 or 70 stages. That took a while. Let's see. And Justin Mellinson says, don't forget Operation Zero and Nintendo's bumbling Fatal Frame franchise. Yep, Operation Zero. It's a fan movement to bring Fatal Frame games to other territories. Stop hogging them all, Japan!
Yeah, I know.
So, Operation Zero.
I heard Fatal Frame was a fairly good franchise. And,
I mean, I hear like Resident Evil, it has its high and its low points, but I wouldn't know because none of them are on the Nintendo in this territory. I do believe Sony has a few, like Fatal Frame 2 or something is on the PlayStation 2, I think. Maybe. Yeah.
I don't know. Let's do a Google search.
Yeah.
Fatal Frame.
While you are doing that, let's see. Poll. I have a poll here somewhere. We had a poll earlier this week, and I've lost it. Here it is. Okay. Will the new Nintendo 3DS be region-free? This poll lasted a day before Nintendo said no. So,
yeah, Fatal Frame has been on every PlayStation console and the PlayStation 2 and 3 and the Xbox, the Wii and 3DS and the Wii U, but I guess the Wii, 3DS, and Wii U have not been in the U.S., so...
Okay.
Something like that. Yeah. Okay, so go back to the poll.
On Tuesday, I put up a poll and wrote the article on the same day, which is really rare for me. Will the 3DS be the new 3DS, pardon me, will it be region-free? 96 people voted before I took the poll down, and 73% said no way in hell. 11% said yes, just like the good old days of handhelds. If you don't know, Nintendo's handhelds were all region-free right up to the DSi. So as soon as they started connecting to the internet, they region-locked them. 13% said yes, but game carts only, and 3% said yes, but eShop titles only. So, yeah, most people didn't believe that the new 3DS would be region-free, and Nintendo confirmed that the very next day. So,
so we had to close the poll.
So we closed the poll. And Matthew says they don't sell well here. I'm guessing you mean Fatal Frame, so I don't blame them for not translating it. Yeah, that's true. You know, if if you're not going to make enough money to cover the cost of actually localizing a game, it makes perfect business sense not to do that. However, because your console is region locked, I can't import the damn thing. I would be happy to import it and translate the stuff I don't already know. So, by region locking, you are losing money. Yep. Because there are games I would buy. I know you think that you won't sell enough copies to cover the cost of localization. I get that. That's totally fine. Let me buy it. I'll translate it. Hell, the fans could translate it. Fans love doing stuff like that. You pains in the butt. You know, I've been thinking recently about region locking. I'm like, why does Nintendo do? Sony and Microsoft don't do it. Nintendo is the only one who still does this. Sony doesn't do it. Microsoft don't do it.
Well, Nintendo's argument just basically, you know, different regions have different content restrictions, so we're going to region lock. Is basically what the gist of it is.
Which doesn't hold water because, again, Sony and Microsoft figured out how to deal with that.
Yeah. Well, it's you know, it's not like Nintendo's going to get in trouble if somebody in Germany imports a banned game. You know, Nintendo's not going to be the one that gets in trouble for that. It's the person who imports the game if they get caught.
And you know, whoever in charge of customs for letting it into the country.
Yeah. You know, so all Nintendo has to do is just sell it in whatever region they're going to sell it in, and let customers decide and take the risk themselves. And it just... But yeah, for some reason they think that they have to be meddling third parties or middlemen and get in the way of everything.
Yeah,
it's really
it
annoying.
Does not have to be done for you know, different rating systems. We know this because, again, Sony and Microsoft managed to figure this stuff out. Besides, you know, each of the different territories have the different rating systems, so they have the functionality to deal with all the rating systems. Just put it in the same unit. And in fact, the same unit, I'm really sure, actually has that. It's just some region toggle somewhere in there. It's not piracy. In fact, region locking your console encourages more piracy because you can't tell gamers you can't have this. We'll get it anyway, whether legitimately or not. So it leads people to modding their consoles so they can play import games, which opens up the possibility of piracy. So I would argue that region locking increases piracy.
Definitely.
You're making less money because people can't buy your games. If they were region-free, you know there would be super fanboys who would buy the Japanese copy 6 months early and then buy the American copy 6 months when it comes out in their territory. That's 2 sales. That's not a possibility when you region lock. The only... and you're irritating your customers. Everyone hates this. Everyone thinks you're an ass for doing it, so stop it. The only reason I can think of, the only legitimate reason I can think of for Nintendo region locking their consoles is price gouging Australia and other territories.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
That's it.
That's the only reason that actually makes sense, because it's an actual business reason. Yeah. You know, it makes business sense to to be able to price games individually, so that people in the U.S. or Australia or whatever can't order from Taiwan where the game costs $10 instead of 60. You know, and it makes sense to be able to do that, but the fact is that 90% of your customers are not going to do that. There's only this little small minority of customers who are willing to search all over the world for the best price and buy it there and bring it in. If they're willing to deal with another language, if the game doesn't come in English or whatever native language they speak.
Usually the cost of international shipping will outweigh the price gouging anyway, but
it depends.
Except maybe in Australia.
I don't know. It all depends. Like there was the copyright case about the student who was importing textbooks. You know, he would bring in a bunch of textbooks really cheap from his home country and then sell them here. And he got sued by the textbooks publisher, and he ended up winning, which is good. But shipping wasn't a big deal for him because, one, he was buying in bulk. He would get a bunch of them shipped, and it was media mail. I don't know if that country deals with media mail, but usually shipping is cheaper when it's books and stuff. And then the price of the books themselves, covered the cost of shipping quite a bit. Covered that and then some. So, because textbooks are a racket, and they sell a $20 book for $80.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah, region locking just from a consumer perspective makes 0 sense, and from a business perspective, it only makes sense if you want to strictly control pricing throughout the world. Content itself, there's no reason to region lock based on content restrictions or anything. Yep. Well, that's the gist of it.
Yep. So, Nintendo, stop it.
Yep.
There. That ought to solve it. All right. So I had to but Nintendo revealed the very next day that yes, the new 3DS will indeed be region locked. So I closed the poll and wrote a new one, which I'm closing right now. And being that it was really, really late in the week, I went ahead and went with something really fluffy and inconsequential. So this week's second poll, and I think this is the second week in a row we had 2 polls.
I know.
Wasn't that last week? Maybe the week before, too.
I think it was. We've done this a lot recently.
Yeah. So this week's second poll: how many typos are in Phoenix Wright Dual Destinies, the new Phoenix Wright game for the 3DS and available only in the eShop?
Now, before we get into the poll results, I want a point of clarification here.
Yeah.
When you say typo, do you mean just like misspellings or transposed words and stuff, or do you mean that plus bad grammar and iffy translations and all of that too?
I mean misspellings, dropped words, punctuation use, things like that. But,
basically what your English teacher would get on to.
Yeah, if the English teacher would circle it with a red pen, I'd consider that a typo.
Okay. I just wanted to make a clarification there.
Now there are a couple wrong answers, but there's no quite right answer yet because I haven't finished the game. I'm still maybe an hour or 2 into Chapter 5, or Episode 5, I think they are episodes. So not sure how high the total is going to be. But let's see what our fine voters think. 98 people responded to the poll. 11% said none. 11% are wrong.
I would never pick that for any game, because it doesn't matter what game it is, how big the company is, how good their staff is, their QA department or whatever. Every game is going to have a typo if it has text in it.
Well, especially if it's essentially
like 4 sentences and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, this game, the Phoenix Wright games are interactive novels. There's a ton of text in them, so a typo or 2. But I started the game, I think, before we recorded last week's show, and that's why I didn't bring up any typos, because by the time we recorded the show, I think I'd only come across like 4.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, 4 typos, And I'm like, that's high, but I didn't really think of it. Later that night, I hit 7, and I posted something on Twitter saying, this game has the most typos I've seen in any video game ever. And I'm thinking back to stuff like Zero Wing, and I'm like, well, maybe not ever, but a lot of the old, really bad translations had very little text in the game anyway. But let's continue on. 1 or 2, 4%. Nope, it's more than that. Several said 17%. More than that. More than 10 said 7%. More than that. More than 25 said 11%. More than that. More than 50 said 49% of respondents. I don't know. So far, 35 typos.
Wow.
35.
So far, 18% of people are correct.
Yeah.
Because more than 10, 8 or 35 is more than 10, and it's also more than 25. So.
Well, if you vote for more than 10 and one of the options is more than 25, that's implying that it's somewhere between 10 and 25. So you're wrong. But I voted for more than 50. So
did I.
Yeah. We'll see if there are 15 more typos in episode 5. I don't know if I should count the DLC episode. Because there's an extra episode where you defend a killer whale or something like that, which I may actually get because I got this game on sale. So
yeah. Well, see, I probably wouldn't have gone with more than 50 if the game were an English first game. But since it's a translated game, I have no faith in video game translations, and so I know there's going to be tons of typos in there. So.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure it's nothing like all your base are belong to us, but
no, there's no bad English in it. The only one of those that they make is the game refers to defense attorneys as lawyers, and it draws a line between lawyer and prosecutor, as if a prosecutor is not actually a lawyer. Defense attorneys are lawyers. Prosecutors are prosecutors. They're not lawyers. They're prosecutors, which is not true. They're both lawyers.
Yeah.
But I only gave them one typo for that one, because otherwise we'd be into the 70s somewhere. But Capcom has actually had a few typos recently. Most notably, it spelled Revelations wrong on the spine of Resident Evil Revelations for, I think, the 3DS a couple years ago.
Wow.
But, I mean, typos happen. I'm a writer. I make typos. It happens. But 35?
You would think...
Damn!
But going back to the spine on the game box, you would think that would have gone through quality control multiple times. And the fact that nobody caught that's insane. Yeah. But still, like I was saying earlier, I don't expect any editing job to be done perfectly.
No,
I read professionally published novels all the time, and pretty much every novel I read has at least one noticeable typo or something in it, and so even something like that, you're going to see one. And,
but most 300-400 page books I only notice like maybe 1 or 2 typos in.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not proofreading the game. I'm casually playing it, and I've noticed 35. I'm a bit more aware of the typos now than I was when I started. But
just because you started counting.
It's just I started counting. Interestingly, most of the typos are dropped words. Like, there is a glass of water on the desk. It'll say, there is glass of water on the desk. It's like, you missed the article, dude. There is a glass of water. I've only noticed 2 misspellings. They spelled story with an E, S-T-O-R-E-Y once, and they spelled daddy with 3 Ds at one point.
Oh, wow.
Daddy. There are a couple wrong form of a word, like, we must thorough search the room. It's like thoroughly. We must thoroughly search the room. So a spell check would not have caught most of these because it's actually that thorough
actual
word. But
these are things that you would have to, 1, be proficient in English, and 2, read it out loud in order to catch a lot of these.
Yeah, it looks like they did not hire a English-speaking person or someone who's truly fluent in English to proofread the game, because this game is just this is again more than zeroing. This is the most typos I've ever seen in a single video game, and I've played a few graphic novels like 999 and Zero's Last Reward. I have never seen this many typos in a game before. It's really shameful, actually. Shame on you, Capcom. Shame on you.
But I don't know what game is this? Mass Pixelanti in the comments of the article. He says, no clue, but probably far fewer than the Japanese version of AA3. I'm not sure what game he's referring to.
Ace Attorney.
Oh, Ace Attorney 3?
I think that's Justice for All. I think he means the third game in the Phoenix Wright series, which I played, and I don't recall there being tens of typos in it. So.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm not. And then we had another conversation with Conster about the uses of stepladder and ladder.
That's a running joke in the game though, where someone will bring a ladder. And it's like, I've got a ladder. It's like, that's a step ladder. It's like, it's the same thing, isn't it? No, that's just a running joke that's been in there since the first game, and it's only mentioned twice in this one so far. So. Even if you did count that as a typo instead of a specific gag, it wouldn't add up too much.
Yeah.
But anyway, on to news that matters. Let's see. Fight for the Future is saying there's going to be if you remember back in, what was the SOPA PIPA blackout thing, this is kind of similar to that. On Wednesday the 10th, a few organizations are going to participate in a similar event to raise awareness for net neutrality and try to give an idea of what the internet might look like if paid prioritization, in other words, ISPs are allowed to charge internet service providers for, ISPs are allowed to charge content providers for faster access to the customers. So, let's see, several top websites, including Etsy, Kickstarter, Foursquare, WordPress, Vimeo, Reddit, Mozilla, Imager, Meetup, Cheeseburger, Namecheap, BitTorrent, Gandhi.net, Startpage, Boing Boing, and Dwola, I have no idea who that one is, announced that they will be joining more than 35 advocacy organizations and hundreds of thousands of activists in a day of action that will give a glimpse into what the internet might look like if the FCC's proposed rules go into effect. The protest won't actually slow down anyone's experience from visiting participating sites, but it will use widgets displaying prominent messages that symbolize an infinitely spinning site loading icon, or the spinning wheel of death, to symbolize what surfing the web could be like without net neutrality. The alerts will direct the site's users to call and/or email policymakers in support of net neutrality. Now, do you think this is going to matter much if bigger sites like Wikipedia and Google don't join it?
I think they've got a pretty wide spread of sites. Like they don't have. Without Wikipedia and Google, they don't get the casual internet user, but they are getting a lot of the, with Etsy and Kickstarter, those two right there, they're going to get a lot of people on, a lot of people to notice it, because Etsy has a lot of casual internet users visiting it, because they go on and buy stuff. Kickstarter, people. There's a wide selection of wide demographic of people who visit Kickstarter. It's not just tech-savvy people, so you could probably get a good selection there. I don't know about Foursquare because I think most people use the app, and I don't know how many people actually go to the website. So unless they do something to the app, they're probably not going to get very many people to notice. Nobody uses Vimeo. Sorry, Vimeo. Well, I guess not as many people use Vimeo as YouTube. Reddit, maybe we'll get some people who don't already know, but probably not too many. Mozilla, nobody goes to Mozilla unless they're downloading Firefox. Imager, they could probably get a few people from Imager. Meetup, I don't know how big their user base is, but I know a lot of people from a lot of backgrounds use it. I just don't know how big that user base is. Cheeseburger, they're all pretty much tech-savvy. Namecheap, unless they do something with all domains that have been registered through them, which would tick a lot of people off. They're not going to get very many people. BitTorrent, nobody. I don't know where Gandhi.net is. Startpage, Boing Boing's not going to get anybody because everybody there already knows. and I have no idea what Dwala is. So
yeah, that one's a new one to me too.
yeah, so yeah, they'll get some people, but without Google and Wikipedia, they're probably not going to get as many as SOPA got.
Yeah.
Or as much exposure as SOPA did.
Now, what do you think of the stunt itself, used in a little widget to put a spinny page loading wheel on and say, "This could happen to you if net neutrality passes"?
Well, that's essentially what the SOPA thing was. You know, people just put some JavaScript onto their website, which blacked out the page and sent them somewhere where they could learn about SOPA and the fight against it. It's essentially the same thing. You know, personally, I'm thinking, I think having the pinwheel of death or whatever you want to call it, I think that's probably that could probably be a good idea, and we'll get a lot of confused people who won't know what's going on until they take 5 seconds to read. But I was thinking to myself as you were reading that introductory paragraph, I was thinking that it'd be kind of cool to say, put up a similar message. It's like, oh, would you like faster internet? Well, here, go and pay. Here, use this PayPal button. Send me $5, and you can get right into the website.
Page not loading fast enough? Well, here's a little button you can press to pay us $5 a month, and the page will load lickety-split.
Yeah. Because that's essentially what's going to happen.
And you're going to have to do this for every single web page you may ever want to visit.
Yeah, because that's one of the primary battles is that ISPs want to charge not just the customer but also the web page owner extra money in order to get faster service there. But yeah, I think this could have a fairly good impact. I don't know. See, September 10th. That's my birthday. But
really? Awesome.
Yeah, I don't know how timely the date is. I think they may have just picked the date, because as far as I know, I don't think there's any important decisions going to be made anytime soon. So, like, SOPA was important because, like, when they did the SOPA one, that one was pretty important because I think there was supposed to be a vote scheduled that very next week, and or something like that, and so that's one of the reasons why it was very successful, because there was a major decision happening shortly after the event went down. So we'll just have to see. I don't think I'm going to participate in this one, but I might. I don't know. I'll have to think about it. Because I don't get a lot of users, like a lot of people visiting my websites, and the websites that I would have probably put them on run slow enough as it is. I still haven't figured out why my websites are running so slow. But it's like half of my websites, load up like that, but the other half, which are on the exact same server, seem to take forever to load, and it's driving me insane. And the ones that take forever to load are the important ones. So I don't know if it's just a user. Well, if it were a user thing, all of my websites would be affected, and I don't know what's going on.
All right. Well,
yeah.
we shall see on Wednesday how that goes. Hopefully, some more, some of the large, the Googles and Wikipedias and Amazon or something will join in, and all the popular porn sites. I don't see any porn sites on this list. So there's got to be. Pornhub, is that the one that just released a study about how many video game consoles are connecting to their site? I think it was something like Pornhub.
Something like that.
So yeah, major porno sites. Yeah, you get in on it, because your customer base is like, slower access to my porn. I think not, sir. So. All right.
Yeah.
So, also happening this week is we had an open letter to the gaming community, which says, "We believe that everyone, no matter what gender, sexual orientation, ethnicity, religion, or disability, has the right to play games, criticize games, and make games without being harassed or threatened. It is the diversity of our community that allows games to flourish. If you see threats of violence or harm in comments on Steam, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, or Reddit, please take a minute to report them on the respective sites. If you see hateful, harassing speech, take a public stand against it and make the gaming community a more enjoyable space to be in. And let's see, 2,495 people signed this open letter, and many of them actually high-profile game developers from places such as BioWare. Huh? I didn't.
Said you didn't sign it.
No, because I'm a nobody. I'm just a guy with a goofy YouTube channel. I guess I could have, because I think it's not just.
You do criticize games, so.
That's true. Yeah, but at least I'm civil about it. BioWare, Bungie, Boss Key, Google, Sports Interactive, Sony Computer Entertainment America, Oculus VR, Ubisoft, Spryfox, Blambeer, EA, Kickstarter, Humble Bundle, and a bunch more. So, most of the criticism I hear against this open letter is, well, kind of the same criticism you would have against any open letter, is it's more of a symbolic gesture than anything else, and, well, yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's not meant to be a binding law or anything. It's just a nice thing to do to help raise awareness, and I guess if anyone on this list ever starts DDoSing anyone for their opinion or start posting nude pictures or harassing them or something, you can pull, your name is right here, buddy. You said you would not do that. Shame.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a very timely letter, especially, with the whole, the past couple of years have been, really, really focusing a lot on diversity in games and gender roles and sexual orientation and all that stuff, not just in the games themselves, but within developers and stuff too. Because I follow several angles of this, and there's the criticism, with Anita Sarkeesian and her Tropes versus Women series.
Mm-hmm.
There's the actual developer thing. You have is it Jade Raymond?
Ubisoft. I think she. Yeah, Jade Raymond, Ubisoft.
Yeah, you had that in that whole thing a couple of years ago. They've had a few other instances of the Tomb Raider writer. I forget her name, but yeah, a lot of women developers have been getting a lot of harassment and flack lately. Usually, it's when they actually say something in public about gender equality or diversity in games and stuff. And then there's the actual people who play games. You get the harassment on Xbox Live and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So there's definitely problems, and I'm of the opinion that it is a minority of people who do this, who harass and threaten and all that stuff. I'm of the opinion it is a minority, but because they are so vocal and united in their whatever you want to call it, that it is a definite problem.
And their internet ass hattery.
Yes, there we go. It's definitely something that needs to be addressed, and I think this letter is a good way to start. It usually starts with something like this, and it's just something. There's got to be that something to unite around. Several years ago, there was the EA letter or EA spouse. When there was which started the whole thing about quality of life issues in game development. Mm-hmm. Somebody's wife wrote a letter to an open letter to EA about how much their development policies are hurting their marriage and family. Because the guy has to work 80 hours a week. And it's just, and so she wrote a letter saying, hey, you need to stop this. And that actually started really, really good discussion and has made sweeping changes across the industry. Those quality of life issues aren't completely gone. They aren't completely fixed, but things are a whole lot better today than they were 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's something like this could be that rallying point, I think, and to fixing or putting the games industry on a path that addresses this issue.
Yeah, I agree that most of the aforementioned internet asshattery is perpetrated by a very small minority of all gamers. But as you mentioned, the problem is they're really loud. So really loud and really noticeable. So they end up giving an impression of people who aren't in gaming circles, which is becoming less and less people nowadays. It gives them the impression that gamers are gamers are like that. It's like, no, gamers aren't like that. Assholes are like that, and like any other group, we gamers have assholes. There are assholes in every group. Gamers are no exception.
Yeah, definitely.
And you get this problem in probably every other social area. Where, I mean, whether you're talking about internet harassment or sexism, racism, misogyny, you start addressing this stuff is happening and it's happening here, and a lot of gamers or anyone who happens to be in that particular group will be like, well, I'm not doing that. Stop blaming me for stuff I'm not doing, and you end up with people getting really defensive, not necessarily saying that this doesn't happen, just I want to be clear that I'm not doing this. Which, when you spend all your time yelling, not me, not me, not me, nothing productive ever gets done. I think a lot of us need to, or a lot of folks need to get in the mindset that, I know it's not me. I know when they're talking they don't mean me. Let's see what we can all work together to do to make the world a better place. Yay! Because I see a lot of people. For example, the whole Zoe Quinn kerfuffle that happened a couple weeks ago. I've heard a lot of people saying, "Look, I don't give a flying falafel about Zoe Quinn herself or what she has or has not done. What I want to talk about are journalistic integrity issues. Is it an okay thing to support a developer's Patreon while still writing about them? This is the discussion I want to have. Yes, that did jump off of this whole really ugly thing surrounding Zoe Quinn, but I want to. I'm seeing a lot of frustration from some commenters on the internet saying, like, look, I'm stop it with Zoe Quinn. That was bad. Now let's talk about something that is actually important, journalistic integrity. And then you have other people there saying, there's no evidence of journalistic integrity. It's like, and everyone yells at each other and nothing ever gets done. And it's kind of understandable because there's a lot of heat here. There's a lot of nasty, bad things flying back and forth. And when that happens, nothing ever gets done. And so I think that everybody just needs to be, follow Bill and Ted and be excellent to each other, and then we can have, meaningful discussions. We can disagree with each other without harassing them or threatening them or hacking their website or spilling their personal information, address, and bank statements all over the internet.
Yeah. Yeah, but you did mention something that is it okay for a developer to or a writer to write about a game that they're actively supporting? I don't see why that would be an issue. I think the issue is when it's the other way around and when the developer is paying the writer in some way, form, or fashion. Because if you really like somebody and you support their Kickstarter or their Patreon or you just flat out buy the game, that's perfectly fine for me if you want to write about that, because it's somebody, something that you liked enough to give them money. But if it's the other way around, where the game developer, gives you a copy of the game or pays you $50 or whatever, it's like, here's $50, no strings attached, and that's the kind of stuff that I think, one needs to be disclosed, and two, the people reading the article can at that point make a decision whether they actually trust the opinion or not. and that's really all that needs to come down to it. I don't think there's any reason to flame or harass a writer for if they disclose that, or if they choose not to disclose that. I can see I can say why it would be okay to point out that, hey, didn't this person get invited to a PAX party, put on by the developer? Why didn't they disclose that? They could point that out, but I don't think that's a reason to harass somebody for.
Yeah, well, there's never really a reason to harass anybody, I don't think. I mean, maybe there's an extenuating circumstance I'm not thinking of, but again, Bill and Ted, be excellent to each other.
Yeah.
And again, I think a lot of the problems are confusion. You see the whole hashtag Gamergate thing going around, and it doesn't mean one single thing. Depending on who you ask, it means a bunch of different things.
Yeah.
To some people, it's the whole journalistic integrity thing. To some people, it's more involved with the whole kerfuffle surrounding Zoe Quinn. And so you'll get someone talking about Gamergate and talking about a different aspect of it, which in turn pisses a bunch of people off to whom Gamergate means something completely different. They're like, that's not what it means, gosh darn it!
Well, it's like we had the exact same discussion around net neutrality a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
We talked about net neutrality needing to be renamed because it means different things to different people.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Gamersgate is another one of those things. For some people it's the harassment of Anita Sarkeesian. For other people it's the whole Zoe Quinn. Other people it's just general journalistic integrity. So there's a lot of that going on, and they're all very important issues. We should address, people getting harassed. We should address, journalistic integrity. We should address developer-journalist relationships. All that stuff. Those are all valid things to talk about. But again, they're nothing to threaten people with death or whatever.
Yeah, I agree.
My point is, people stop threatening people with bodily harm and death.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's a game review. Is it really that important?
Exactly.
I mean, we lost the city of Atlantis due to the journalistic integrity issues. It sunk below the waves because someone did not disclose that they met this developer at a party once and shared a shrimp cocktail.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I think some of the full disclosures I'm starting to see at the top or bottom of articles are getting a little silly. Because I'm seeing some people mention that, like, okay, I follow this person on Twitter. It's like, okay. Full disclosure, man, okay. Really? Is anyone like, aha! Yeah, you are the bias because you follow this person on Twitter. It's like, really? We're reporters. We know everybody. That's how this works.
Follow people on Twitter, yeah.
Yeah. I may be funding someone on Patreon so that I can get access to their stuff so I can review it. And I'm not saying full disclosure is a bad thing. We do it at Game Politics all the time. Game Politics is a publication of the Entertainment Consumers Association. We're always clear to point that out when we talk about ECA stuff. And ECA is in turn owned by the Crest Group, which we always, unless we just flat out forget, and if we do say something in the comments, we'll fix it. We always point that out. Who owns us and who we're affiliated with. I think that kind of stuff is important, but. We actually have written articles, but for instance, I wrote an article on Game Politics a few weeks ago where I published quotes from a guy because I actually had a correspondence with him. I kind of thought that was fairly apparent because it was an exclusive interview. I'm like, yeah, full disclosure, I actually talked to the guy to get these quotes. Of course you did.
Yeah. I think. I write for Oklahoma Game Development. I write about game developers here in Oklahoma, And I also do random tower stuff, and on my random tower website, every now and then I'll actually publish articles and game reviews on there. But it's like, in all of my work, I think the only times I've ever done a full disclosure is when, one, I was writing about myself, something that I did. I always put, full disclosure, I'm also the developer on this game that I'm writing about. And I tend to not write too much about my own stuff, but I still, feel the need to disclose that because people might not make that connection.
Then
and then
again,
two,
if it's on the
every
Define
once
My
in a while,
Gaming page, I think that's understood.
Yeah, but every once in a while I get free codes from certain developers, especially developers from Oklahoma. They'll give me free copies of their game. Or just recently I wrote about Toto Temple Deluxe, which is a game developer. I don't even know where they live, but I've written about their games before, Juicy Beast, and they sent me a free copy of or code to get Toto Temple Deluxe, and I made sure to just say, hey, they gave me a free copy. I put that up near the top, and personally, I don't think that's even a big issue. It doesn't matter.
I don't either. I kind of assume that most reviews are done on review copies provided by the publisher or developer.
Yeah, I'd say I don't even think that's a big deal, but if they gave me something on top of the free copy, that
like
I would probably yeah, like if they gave me some extra money, because the game only costs $5. If they sent me an Ouya gift card for $10, I probably would have been more adamant about disclosing that full thing. But Matthew, talks about being friends with developers, and again, that's I don't know how much that really can affect you. Sure, I think a lot of people are a little less critical when they're talking about their friends, but I think I don't think that should really get in the way. Maybe that's something to disclose or what, but like for me, again, I write for Oklahoma Game Development, and I actually have personal relationships with a lot of the Oklahoma game developers. I meet with them, I hang out with them, and stuff, and I write about their games, and I don't know. Personally, I just completely ignore that in the disclosures. I don't say, hey, I hang out with this guy every other Friday, and play games and stuff. I don't think that's important. But if he gives me a free copy of the game or whatever, yeah, I'll probably just mention that somewhere. That this is I review this off of a free copy. But, yeah.
Well, I think it's a fine discussion to have. I think a lot of it depends on the nature of the relationship, but also what exactly you're reporting on. Mm-hmm. I just don't think a game review is that big of a deal that it really matters what how friendly you are with the developer. If you know them personally, or if you've talked to them at conventions, or have an email relationship with them, or had a burger with them once. It's like it's a game review. So what? That's just me. But there are things to talk about here, and if any good can be coming from some of these things, it's certainly not because of people harassing people. That actually doesn't do anyone any good. But I've seen Kotaku reevaluate some of its disclosure policies and what it will and will not allow its
I've noticed like Kotaku has changed some of that, and of course they've had their own problems with harassment too. Mm-hmm. I think a few weeks back, Jezebel, which is a Gawker site, posted something, and it ticked off one of those groups on the internet, and they just started spamming all Gawker sites with really disgusting GIFs and stuff, and Gawker had to. They first shut off all comments, and then they turned off all image embeds and video embeds, and they've been slowly turning things back on. But right now they're still in the middle of your comments have to be approved by an administrator before they show up phase, mm-hmm. which is really annoying. But but they've had a lot of issues and with spam and stuff. So it's really a good thing right now because it's still ongoing too. So.
Well, that actually leads us comfortably into our next topic, which is PewDiePie or PewDiePie. I'm really not sure which one it is because I'm one of the last people on the internet who doesn't watch his videos. Probably because I'm completely jealous of how much money he makes and how many subscribers he makes. Like, you get enough views, buddy. You don't need mine. Anyway, PewDiePie is the latest YouTube personality to turn off YouTube comments. Sarkeesian, of course, turned off her comments right when she started the Tropes versus Women stuff. And I think Total Biscuit did at one point, or at least considered doing it. But there have been a few high-profile YouTube personalities who have shut off their comment section, and a lot of the complaints about personalities who do that is, you're censoring me. You should provide a platform for my voice. If you want this topic to be discussed, you should leave your comment section open so that people can actually discuss it. Now, Mr. PewDiePie had this to say. I go to the comments and it's mainly spam. It's people self-advertising, people that are trying to provoke, people who reply to all these, just all this stuff that, to me, it doesn't mean anything. Which is a rambling way of saying that my comments are full of spam and people calling everyone names and being nasty. And yes, there are people in the comments who are actually trying to say, hey, cool vid, or I disagree because of these issues. We're trying to have an actual discussion about things, but ends up being drowned out because it's just a complete mess of people spamming, and a lot of that is a problem with the changes Google's made in the last year, or, well, YouTube has made in the last year since Google bought them. I disagree with the notion that it's YouTube personalities' responsibility to keep a platform open. If you want to discuss Sarkeesian's videos or PewDiePie's videos, please do so. Anywhere you like, just not here. You can't do it here. You can go on a forum, you can go on Reddit, you can go on Twitter, you can go on your Facebook, your blog, wherever. For example, we just today at Game Politics, we have a shout box on the side of the screen, and that's for pointing out news articles and talking about news stories and being fine. What it's not, what it isn't, is a forum for critiquing the way Game Politics runs and does things. There are forums for that. The shout box is not one of them. We have a feedback and complaints forum. We have a email address specifically for that. If you have a problem with a specific article, you're absolutely welcome to point out what issue you have with that article in the comments section of that article. But the shout box on the side of the main page, that's not what that's for. And saying that, and imposing that restriction is not censorship, is not shouting down your voice, is not saying that you can't comment or have a discussion. This is just not the proper place for it. And it's the same thing with Sarkeesian's videos. I think Sarkeesian wants you to have an actual discussion.
Oh yeah.
That's just predominantly not happening in the comment section of her videos. So if you want to have a discussion about that, have it somewhere anywhere else.
Yeah.
Make your own video and have a discussion.
Yeah, and there was actually some good conversations in there, and I got a lot of downvotes because of my comments on this PewDiePie article. It's just, a lot of people seem to expect, anybody who wants to spark a conversation must set up a forum where this conversation can take place. And really, there's nobody is required to do that. You can't say that you have to allow comments. Say you go somewhere and give a speech. Should you be forced to sit through a Q&A at the end of the speech? No, you shouldn't. If you want to do a Q&A session, make that explicit. But there's you shouldn't be forced to provide a Q&A after anything you do. And PewDiePie, Sarkeesian, myself, us, like we don't even have to do these live podcasts with a live chat going on at the same time.
Live chat starring Matthew.
Yeah.
We
don't have to provide this. We're doing this as a service because we want to engage people. But if Matthew's trying to have a valid, an excellent conversation with us, and we have 20 other users who are just posting spam and hateful messages and stuff, sure, we could spend the time, banning those people, and when they come back with a new user account, ban that one, just keep doing that, or we could just turn off the whole chat, if it becomes too much of a hassle. And that's what a lot of people who like Sarkeesian, who are the recipient of a lot of hateful comments, they just think it's easier and more productive for the conversation to just turn off comments on anything that they can control and just let the conversations happen elsewhere.
Yeah.
Like for an example, a personal example, my Divine Knight Gaming website, I have a forum set up there, because I was like, okay, we'll let people talk about our games and other games, ask us questions about game development if they want to, and nobody ever commented, but eventually spam bots figured out a way to beat the spam filter I had, and they just kept spamming and spamming and spamming and spamming, and I was spending 3 hours a day deleting spam comments because they were posting so much, and I was like, screw this, and so I just turned off the ability for people to comment, and I put up a big message like, hey, if you want to comment, send me an email, and tell me your username, I'll turn on the ability to comment for you, and nobody's emailed me because nobody ever commented. Nobody ever tries to comment, but still, it was just easier for me to just turn off comments altogether than to deal with the spam every day. And so, yeah, I don't think there's any reason to...
Yeah. I think a lot of people really fail to understand how much work and time it takes to efficiently and effectively moderate a comment section, especially if you're PewDiePie and you have over 30 million subscribers and your videos routinely get 10 million views apiece, or Sarkeesian, whose videos routinely get anywhere from 200,000 to 1 million views apiece. That is just an absolute time sink. I moderate comments and stuff on game politics, and that takes a fair amount of time getting rid of spam bots when we get them.
Yeah.
I have to individually approve every single new user because otherwise we would be absolutely inundated with spam. And the problem that happens is I sometimes mistake a legitimate account as a spam bot. That can happen. Luckily, that person can actually email us and say, hey, how come you haven't approved my account? I'll go, oh, someone who's not a spam bot. Excellent. I moderate, or not moderate, but I am a writer for, a freelancer for IGN. So I have moderation powers with the wiki guides. And one of the wikis was getting bombarded with spam yesterday or the day before, and I spent a fair amount of my free time deleting all the spam and blocking the users, and I ended up having to completely lock the page, meaning that no one could edit this wiki anymore until we got these spam bots to go away. And that's a damn shame because they're ruining it for everyone else. But if I didn't do that, you would have a completely useless wiki full of nothing but watch the football thing live here pages.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, it's a sad thing that happens, but as a content producer myself and also the moderator of different things, I understand that I don't have the time to ban users and clean up things and moderate something that has thousands of comments in it. And I certainly don't begrudge Sarkeesian, Total Biscuit, PewDiePie, or anyone else who just says, you know what, I'm shutting the comments off because it's too difficult to have fun here. So so let's move to our last topic of the night. Maxis, owned by EA, does Sims 4, and they have they have sussed out pirates with a little bit of code that if you pirate the game and your character's naked, either because they're changing their clothes or showering or
using the bathroom,
skinny dipping, using the bathroom, yeah, whatever.
Well, they can't skinny dip because
they
there's
can't
no
skinny
swimming
dip.
pool.
Oh, okay, sorry. Maybe in the expansion. You get a pixelated blur over their naughty bits. Well, if you pirated the game, the pixelated blur follows the character around and just persists on the screen until the whole screen is a blur. And some of the pirates went to the official forums and said, hey, what's with this? And they went, ha-ha, yeah, gotcha, you pirated the game.
Yeah.
Hopefully that little glitch that they introduced to pirated copies isn't affecting actual legitimate users, which I've seen happen in some of these cases before.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's like a Game Maker. They had a similar thing where if they detected you were pirating the game, all of your sprites would be replaced with skull and crossbones.
Mm-hmm.
And that was hitting a lot of the legitimate users, and there was a big internet stink over it, and so yeah, so these things are never perfect. Some game developers are actually getting pretty good at it. Like I don't remember what game it was, but there was a game where if you pirated the copy, you were constantly chased by giant, unkillable spiders.
Was it Borderlands? No.
I don't remember what it was.
Serious Sam? Is that it? One of those? Something like that. But I remember it, and it was a giant scorpion.
And then there was an indie game where I forget what the title of the game was, but he did something totally different, where he actually posted a copy of his game onto the Pirate Bay, and he made the game, that particular copy of the game, all characters wore a pirate hat. And it was just, he actually, explained the whole thing, and it's like, hey, here's the pirate copy of the game. Everybody has a pirate hat in it. If you want to buy, help us, support us, go here and buy the game, and you can play it without the pirate hats if you want. He gave people the option of playing with or without pirate hats, and depending on where they got the game, and it was actually a fairly successful move. He got a lot of goodwill from the gaming community from that, but yeah. And then there was the game dev sim. I don't remember. I don't know the exact name of it, but if you pirated the game, pirated the sim, the games you make in the game. Well, yeah. So it's the whole meta thing here, but the games you make in the game would be pirated to death, and you would lose all your money. And so a lot of people are complaining. It's like, hey, how do I stop piracy in my game, inside your game dev sim? And which that was actually pretty funny, I thought. But
I'm continually amused by the idea that someone who pirates a game actually has the gall to ask the developer for tech support.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, you entitled ass.
Yeah, that is hilarious that people actually do that, and I guess you when you think about the mindset of these people, they might not think they're doing anything wrong by pirating the game, and they might think that, hey, this is an actual bug. Is there any way I can actually fix this? And without doing their Google search, to find out, hey, does this game have any DRM in it that I need to be aware of before I go talk about it on the official forums?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I pirated your game as a favor to you. You see, I'm beta testing your game, and in return, I get your game for free.
A lot of games are essentially beta releases when they come out.
Well, with this whole early access stuff, very few games are doing it right. Prison Architect, I think, is one game that does the whole early release thing right. Of course, it's been an early release for like 2 years now, so. But it's less early release than game that continually is improving. So
Yeah.
I don't play the game, but I do watch their monthly developer blogs because I find that stuff fascinating to see. Because it's really a behind-the-scenes look at how the game is made, and they say we introduced this thing this month, and then the next month they'll say, well, we decided to do that a different way because it got obnoxious. Last month they did something about wiring doors, and they lead a wire from here to here, so you wire from the generator to the automatic door, so the door opens back and forth. And it's like, isn't that so cool? And then the next month he says, okay, that was a bad idea because this is what happens. And it shows a prison with wires all over the place. And he says, okay, so I redid the interface so it's not just a complete mess of wires. And they had, one of the early ones is they had a fog of war thing going on, and then the next month says, yeah, we decided to do that a different way because from a gameplay perspective, it just really doesn't work. And I find that stuff kind of fascinating, even if I don't actually play the game. But, do you, last question, are you opposed or approve of, or rather indifferent towards the practice of putting in these sneaky little, hopefully pirate-specific DRM things?
I think it depends on how drastic it is. Like, if it's actually something that breaks the gameplay experience, like, makes it so that, somebody cannot actually play the game, yeah, I'm against that. If it's going to be something that, if a paying customer experienced this, would they be happy? Or would it be an annoyance, or would it be something that makes them turn off the game and never play it again?
Yeah.
If the answer is yes, they would turn it off and never play it again, then that's the wrong way to go. But if it's something quirky and just a minor annoyance, something to get pirates to out themselves, then yeah, I would probably say that's okay. I don't see myself ever doing anything like that, but I'm just not of the opinion that you should do anything that has the potential to harm your relations with paying customers.
Yeah. So, of course, there's the alternate method, which is actually releasing a completely separate version of the game onto pirate sites, which is riddled with bugs or something, so that the only people who could possibly experience that are people who pick it up from pirate sites. Or I guess someone who somehow buys a stolen or a pirated copy. I guess that could possibly happen at some point.
I guess if you did two separate executables, one is the legitimate one that if they go to your website or Steam or whatever and buy the game there, that's the copy they get, and that's the one that gets all the updates and fixes and stuff, and then a totally different executable that doesn't have access to all those updates and fixes and stuff, and goes on the pirate sites. I think you might be able to get away with that, but eventually the legitimate copy is going to end up on the pirate sites anyways, and your broken one's going to fall completely out of use with pirates.
And you also run into the issue where your broken copy that you put onto the pirate sites are going to, the word of mouth is going to get around that your game's broken. So say the pirates. So maybe if you do it that way, you're going to want to do something fun and silly like pirate hats, or you pirated this one, click here to actually buy a legitimate copy. Something that doesn't spread or get people spread negative things about your game that's going to impact sales in a negative way.
Yeah.
Okay, that is the show for this evening. Thank you, Matthew, for hanging out with us for episode 113. We will be back next week with another show. For now, though, we'll just plug our stuff and get out of here. My name's Andrew Eisen, E-I-S-E-N. Type it into YouTube and find my YouTube videos. I haven't done anything since the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, which was filled with dirt. So go watch that.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoilers. It's been 2 weeks if you haven't watched it by now. Or you can watch Kathy Griffin's Ice Bucket Challenge because she was naked. Except high heels. Yep. Do I have her name? I think it's Kathy Griffin. She did the Ice Bucket Challenge sans clothes. Because at this point, you have to do something really eye-catching because people are starting to not care anymore.
Yeah. I haven't seen any all week, so...
Yeah, it's kind of past.
Well, of course, I've never watched any. Yours is the only one I've actually watched.
Yeah,
but
mine hit right at
I've never seen any
posted interest. Yeah, I think interest had died like the day before I did mine. I wanted to do mine like a week earlier, but work. I work till 7. It's dark. The only time I had to do that was the weekend. So things happen. But anyway, I make YouTube videos. They're silly. Go watch them. Twitter @Andrew Eisen. Facebook Andrew Eisen YouTube. Literally Andrew Eisen YouTube is what you type into Facebook to find my Facebook page. Yeah, that's all I do. I wrote the guide to Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. It has videos. So if you're still playing the game... We
still don't know what its blood alcohol content is, though.
My blood alcohol content is 0.
So is mine. Wow, what a coincidence.
Yeah, we are both sober today.
Yep.
Pantsless but sober.
Yep.
So Zachary, plug away.
All right, you can follow me on Twitter at EasyKnight, and you can also check out DK_gaming for my game development work with DivineKnightGaming.com, and you can check out OKGameDev.com and OKGameDevs on Twitter, to follow all the work and stuff that Oakland game developers are doing, and if you're interested in catching up on past episodes of Super Podcast Action Committee or any other game reviews and stuff that I actually managed to post onto randomtower.com. You can check that out. So,
all right. Yeah. One more thing I wanted to talk about is the For Everything But Wii U list recently hit 150. So there are 150 games for everything but Wii U.
I thought there was 151. Did that change?
It's actually it's 153 now, but okay. I think on like August 20-something, there was the new Saints Row Gat Out of Hell is number 150. I'm trying to write a video to do kind of a celebration. We hit 150. I just haven't had a whole hell of a lot of time, meaning I've been using my spare time to play video games instead of writing YouTube videos. But I'll get to that eventually. Because, just answering a few questions like, are there any games for everything but PS3 or for everything but 360? Yeah, there are.
But
are
not
there
nearly as many?
No. There are. I'll spoil it here. There are 4 games for everything but PS3 and 4 games for everything but 360. There are 153 for everything but Wii U, which is actually way more games than are actually available for the Wii U at retail. There are about 100 games available for the Wii U at retail. A little over 100. There are over 150 skipping the Wii U. So, yikes. So, I want to make a video talking about all that stuff, and I'll get around to that eventually. But I need to get a little party hat and one of those things, just to be silly. I'm also planning on doing a video polling you guys on what you think about the way they're painting my apartment complex, because I think it's ghastly. But, I don't claim to have any aesthetic sense. Look at the way I dress, so... I'm wondering, is it just me, or is that like the worst possible paint color they could have ever decided on? So I may do a video on that. Keep your eye on my YouTube channel and make me as popular as PewDiePie so I can make $4 million a year too. And shut up the comments.
Videos every couple of times a week, and maybe you'll get there.
Yeah. What I really need to do is kowtow to my fan base and just start doing Let's Plays, because a lot of my viewers want to see me play video games. And you'll notice I'll do this again next week. If you look at my Facebook page, Andrew Eisen YouTube, next week I'll again poll you folks to see what topics you would like to hear Zachary and I discuss on the show. I did it really late because it was just something that occurred to me last night. And we had a couple of responses, and they were all, talk about Smash Brothers, talk about this 3DS. It was like, more in the game politics thing. You know, we're happy to talk about this stuff, because especially I am, because I'm a Nintendo dork. But yeah. So anyway, that's enough.
Yeah.
Super Podcast Action Committee, really quickly, send us email, superpackpodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter @superpackpodcast. Subscribe and rate us on iTunes, and like us on Facebook. You know, on Facebook would probably be another good place to actually pull what you guys want to hear on the show. So I'll try to remember to do that too, because I think I have access to that Facebook page. Anyway, that is it from us. Thanks for hanging out with us, Matthew, and we'll talk to y'all next week in episode 114. Take care.
See ya.